Hey, everybody. This is the Heart as a Muscle podcast.
Yay!
Yay. If you hadn't noticed, we're in different places, but we'll tell you all about it. So, what are we going to talk about today, Jordan?
Oh man, we are going to give a quick little update on our relationship. We've been in separate places for a little while, so there's kind of some interesting updates there. And then we're going to talk about something that I did that we had to have a whole conversation around and
hmm
had to figure out that I think you will find very relatable.
Yes, get out your notebook, everybody, because there's some good nuggets in here you can all relate to. So, stay tuned for this episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast.
Pew pew.
All right, recording in progress. So,
Yay.
what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm pretty open. Do you have anything?
Um, we could talk about our conversation we had the other day because I had actually a very similar situation happen. Um, I was at the gym with Ian, just to give you the like wrap up, and this like older lady came up to me and was like, "Oh, are you a trainer?" And I was like, "Well, I'm a coach," and da 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 da. And she's like, "Can I have your number? I want to train with you." And I was like, "Well, da, da, da. And she's like, "I'm not hitting on you." And I was like, "That's good," because it was funny. I was like, "It's good because my 6'2" girlfriend would have something to say about that." And I thought in my head, I was like, I should show her a picture of you. And then I was like, the last couple of pictures I have of you are you being
Oh
naked. So I was like, I
yeah.
better not. I don't know where those
Naughty,
are in my phone.
naughty. Yeah.
Anyways,
That's so
so
funny.
yeah, we have that recorded. Go
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
There
Ayo.
we go. So yeah, we could talk about that, or do you want to just do kind of an
Yeah.
update one since we've been out of the loop for a little while?
Um, both sound good. Do you think we could do both in one?
Yeah, let's do both in one. We'll start with an update and then we'll jump into something.
Okay, sounds good.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Heart is a Muscle podcast. If you haven't noticed, Jordan and I are in different locations. I am peacefully sitting here in the forest as the sun is setting, being in one with nature. And you look like you're in a hotel.
Yeah, I know. I am actually sitting in the chair of my badass business lawyer
Oh,
in
nice.
her office. Yep. This is like I walk into this office, I'm like, ooh, a lot of money's been made here. I'm sleeping in here
Yeah.
too. I was like, okay, I can soak it up in here.
Yeah, it looks good. It was
Uh-huh.
funny. I just
Yeah.
thought I was like, I don't even know where you are. Where are
Yeah.
you? Yeah, fill the
Yep,
folks in where you are, Jordan.
I am in Tucson, Arizona. I drove my ass up to Prescott, Arizona first, because some of my friends were up there. And then now I'm in Tucson visiting more friends. And then after this week, I'm gonna drive up to Santa Fe, New Mexico, the land of enchantment, and meet
Oh yeah.
another friend up there.
Is that
Yeah,
what Santa Fe is?
that's what New Mexico is.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
land of enchantment.
Yeah. Yeah. They said it's a whole other kind of desert, a whole other kind of vibe. I've never been, so I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear your opinion because I have heard other opinions from people there that say it's not as enchanting, but you know
Yeah.
what? We'll hold off judgment.
We'll see. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. Yeah. So Jordan's on a wee adventure
Yep.
out in the what is that? The United States Southwest, right?
Yep. The Sonoran Desert currently.
Sonoran Desert.
Dude, did you know about Sky Islands and shit?
No, I don't know what a sky island is.
Would you like me to tell you really quick?
Sure, why not? Is it related to relationships?
I'm sure I could think of a metaphor.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I'll just tell it really quick. So, like, there are mountain ranges, a lot of mountain ranges out here in the desert, and the mountain ranges go up really high to like 8,000 feet. And so there's like we were going up the mountain with saguaro cactuses and everything, and we ended in like forest, like pine trees and stuff. And so there's a whole section habitat of animals like black bears and shit like that live up in those forests. But like literally it's an island because they can't travel anywhere other because they'd have to go through the desert and they
Mm,
wouldn't be able to survive. And so
mm.
they are like their habitat is an island. And I guess there's like pockets of those around here. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Up there where it's like cool enough
Mm-hmm.
for a forest and bears and wild critters and stuff like that.
Yeah, wild critters. We
Is
saw,
that
oh my God, we saw one of those wild critters that it's like a raccoon monkey thing where like it's like a red raccoon kind of, but a little bit smaller. And but it can use its tail like a monkey can use its tail.
really
Yeah, I forgot what it's called, but we saw one.
like uh like a little red panda or something like that?
Yeah, it looks like a little red panda. It's
Oh
not a red
wow.
panda, but that's what it looks like.
Is that
Yeah.
an
It's
invasive species or something?
no, no, I don't think so. Meredith had never seen one on that mountain before.
Hmm,
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yep. So that's the kind of shit that I've been learning about over here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How's the heat?
It's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, like well, it's really dry, which is really nice. And it's like uh 80s, 90s, low 90s.
Oh, jelly.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're barely breaking into the 70s over here in
Oh my
Southern Cal. I
God, where
know.
the fuck are you?
I'm in a confused land right now.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so for all you gorgeous, delicious folks out there, this is going to be a fun little update episode for us because we are in the middle of going through a transition phase in our lives and relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, we're going to do that, and then we're going to break into some real interesting, juicy stuff.
It's juicy.
So juicy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a pretty common thing that comes up, but it's just a great example of something happens and something happens and then like how do we want to prime this? Something happens and then uh, one person's parts react in a way and then that makes the other person's parts react in another way and then you gotta figure that out.
Yep, that's about it.
I
I
think
mean,
yeah, it's a summary
yeah.
for all shit that happens in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
We'll call this one figuring shit out in relationships.
Figuring shit out. Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, for sure. What do you want to update on, or do you want to just dive into the juicy parts?
Yeah, so I think we broke the news we're going digital nomad. So we're
Mm-hmm.
we're getting close to the 0 hour on that one. And so this is kind of a funny thing. This is a little bit not related to relationships, but the concept of time compression. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Everybody, create some time compression in your life if you actually want to move the plot along.
Yeah, shorten the container.
Yeah, because our container down here in good old fashioned Orange County, California is coming to a close. And so that time is coming closer and closer and closer. And you know what happens? You're like, I still have a bunch of shit I need to do and get done. And you know what happens when that also occurs when you try and get more done and you do more things? You put yourself out there in the world. And you know what happens when you put yourself out there in the world? Opportunity strikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll slap you right in the face. And you're like,
Yeah.
damn opportunity, where you been?
Fucking finally opportunity.
Yeah. So if you can artificially put that into your life, then who knows? Art opportunity might come along and just give you a smack on the ass.
Uh-huh.
Because I think,
Ooh.
yeah, because I think you're on this little road trip too, because kind of a similar thing of like, well, I've been planning to take this road trip and hang out with my friends, and so you kind of started putting the feelers out there, and then like opportunity was like, hey, why don't you meet all your fucking friends right now?
Yeah, like immediately. Yeah. But yeah, that's exactly what it's felt like. And man, I have been in a portal of expansion. Like it's been a little bit uncomfortable for my parts. Feels like I'm just being like stretched to a higher level of consciousness to especially like with community, I'm just like up leveling significantly. And even my physical body is changing. Um And it's like the universe is like open wide, like open wider, even wider, like stretch your ass open and then hold it there for 2 fucking weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And like get used to that. That's what it's felt like for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're all about moving the plot along. I think that's kind of our theme now of open wide and
Yep.
get ready to move.
Yep. Yeah, that is the theme. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so updates on that. That's been a lot of stuff going on here with the good old podcast, and it's been an interesting dynamic too in the relationship too, as we've been really focusing in on biznatch, planning, doing stuff. I don't know. How do you think the relationship's been going, Jordan? We haven't really touched base on where we're at in a while.
Yeah, we haven't. You always like get some more context when you are like away from each other. And it's just become so clear. I'm just like, I love my booper. I love him so much. Like, I miss him. Like, there's an element that
That's
you
right,
really
boys.
help. Yeah. Yeah, you really help ground me. And so I'm realizing it is like a whole different thing to be out here um and without like your like physical presence, like without your physical body and energy to ground me like energetically. So that's been interesting to notice of like, oh yeah, I like it's kind of like that masculine polarity of this is my safe space. This is like the person kind of holding a container for me. So it helps me like feel safe to open and like bloom.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. So it made me realize that like I was aware that that was happening before, but now I'm really aware of that. Hmm.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. This is reminding me of kind of a different download I've had towards masculine and feminine energy of I think we're going to talk about this a little bit too of, why does like a feminine core being like, why do they come back to the masculine? You know,
Hmm.
why don't they just go off and do whatever they want and all this kind of stuff? Very similar thing for the masculine, but I think there's a really significant thing here. And if you say it in the wrong way, it kind of sounds shitty, but I think if you say it in the right energy, it's a very empowering thing of like when a man is truly empowered in his masculine energy and he provides, what the feminine needs and he does it consistently and he is that container, then like that's what she craves. That's why she comes back, because it's like, yeah, there's other boys out there, there's other guys, who may be this or that, but it's like, now when you set that precedent of like, when you're in my company, when you're in my presence, like this is the power that I have, where you can be totally in your feminine, no matter what, expressing yourself, all that kind of good stuff. That like hooks that magnetic energy together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
super
am I
duper.
right?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, it's made me just really grateful for the the container that you hold for me and have held for me. Like I've needed it. I've never had that
Mm-hmm.
before this. Hmm.
Yeah, because like a lot of times you kind of hear this of like, yeah, you just need to be like your best self, or you need to be a good man, or you need to, you know, I don't know what it's just kind of these things of like, you need to be this ultimate thing. Otherwise she's going to cheat on you. She's going to run off. She's going to be unfaithful, all this kind of stuff. And that's where I'm saying, like, in that context, yeah, it sounds like, oh shit, yeah, if I'm not that, then like doom awaits. But really, when it is the power of when you are in proximity with that feminine being and you consistently, this is the thing, consistently create that container where she can be in her power, it makes you realize things when you're away.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think also in the same way too of uh I literally walk around the apartment and I'm just like, that half of the energy is gone in this place.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
there's just like
yeah.
this dead air that like I can't fill. I can't like sustain. I can't like uh make what I want to say, like make meaningful when you're gone. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, that's my booper. That's the feminine energy of my booper.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. I know. That's how I felt too. It's just made me realize, like, man, this is the guy that I'm here to do life with. Like till the end, whatever that looks like, however that morphs, like I am just here to do all of this with you.
hmm
Mm-hmm. And like to notice, I'm loving being with my friends. Like it's it like for the first time, my parts are realizing like, oh, being around other people, that's not the taxing part. Like me feeling like I can't be my full self and like me and trying to hold back my power in certain like situations around other people, like that's the taxing part. That's what gets me
hmm
tired.
hmm
Because I'm experiencing it here where I get to be my full self, like my full self, and so do they. And like it's like not a separate thing. I'm like, oh, I could do this for a while. This is great. But
hmm
even still, it like even though I love my friends and I'm loving connecting with them, even still it's making me realize like, oh, like the special connection we have of like, oh yeah, there's just so much of me that only you really know or get access to.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, because it's interesting too how this is probably a topic for another podcast, but like, yeah, the people you surround yourself, the like non-romantic relationships you have are also like very, very critical.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do when like those groups are not like the same?
Totally. Yeah.
And is it like, does it spell doom and gloom for the relationship of like, oh, your people and my people, what is it, Montagues and Capulets, all that kind of bullshit? And it's like, nah, there's a much deeper story there. um but yeah, that's no, I figured you would be really enjoying being around your people, because like you haven't been around your people in this whole
No.
fucking year.
Yeah, I know. And it's I forgot like how good it is. It's so good. I
hmm
love it. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And this was also the first time actually that I really realized that I have needs to have friends, to have like I have community needs. And that was like really crazy for my parts to they're like duh, but like also growing up, my dad always gaslit me into like only paying attention to him and gaslit me out of having friends and like isolated me to only pay attention to him. So my parts have never actually like been even like trained or understood that that's something that we need to like care about is our community and our friendships. Like my part's main MO most of my life has been about one-on-one relationships. And so this is kind of the first time I'm realizing like, oh shit, I have these community needs and actually like Joseph can't meet them just inherently, you
Yeah.
know? And
You're
so
also,
it's like, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you're also around like other really powerful feminine like figures.
So they are
And like,
so
I
powerful.
can't give you that.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And you
Yeah.
don't want that from me.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Uh-uh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's a really powerful thing, I think, too, is like you have to like have that group of friends that like you can relate your energy to as well.
Mm-hmm.
Especially I think for
Mm-hmm.
women, because that is a very like that's part of what empowers feminine energy, is that like community and equality and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like the generosity that I have experienced here and that I've given here. It's just
hmm
been, I'm significantly up leveling. And it's like a little bit alarming for some of my parts. Like I try to play games on my phone to calm myself down. I'm like, I can't even play. I'm like,
Yeah.
I deleted it from my phone because I'm like, I just have to like sit here in this and just like take it. Take it. Well, because it's so good. It's not like I'm being like punished, but it's like, man, this is uncomfortable. Like expansion is pretty uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
But also I choose it.
yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of an interesting thing when you like consciously choose to like uh continuously be pushed beyond your limits. Eventually
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of like, yeah, I like that better than kind of farting around.
Same. Yep. Yep. That's exactly what I'm experiencing. And just because of the fucking business minds I'm around, um, I like my masculine and my feminine in my inner world are finally learning what it could look like to do business together.
Oh yeah.
Instead of like, because they've all
Praise Jesus, hallelujah.
yeah, yeah, like they haven't really been working together yet. They've kind of been working like separately, and maybe a little like mistrustful of one another. So like I'm starting to find my groove and my own mojo of that connection. So that feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, saw that coming.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Your parts are like, finally, we've been seeing that for a long time.
Yeah, but no, that's cool. Everyone's got to you got to discover what's true for you on your own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's been interesting for me too, because there's some merit in me being, I think one of the things that is a positive thing for me is that at this point in time in my life, but it's like real period right now, like the simpler my life is, the easier I'm going to like stick to my goals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for instance, like my diet for this bodybuilding show is like constricting and constricting and constricting, and it's about to be a new chapter of even more constriction.
Shit.
And so it's like, yeah, the fridge is very simple right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point where I'm just like, I'm not buying any more food because I don't need to. But then I'm like, I wonder what happens when you mix like Worcestershire sauce and mustard together.
Oh, how was it? Did he try it?
I mean, I'm so hungry, like everything's delicious.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Uh-huh.
kind of like cleaning out the fridge too, of just like, I have to make something. I have to make some kind of flavor here.
Yeah.
um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's one of the things that for the masculine, a lot of the times simplicity can be a form of freedom. It can kind of
Mm-hmm.
seem like a prison because it's not very glamorous, and they're the more feminine parts of me that really want to be taken care of and want to like, experience pleasure and want to
Mm-hmm.
receive good things. I kind of have to be like, sorry, parts. You're gonna have to hang in there. There's been
Mm-hmm.
it's a really interesting. I've discovered a new part of me that needs to have sweets. It needs to have something sweet.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, because that part gets fucking mad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you just get tunnel vision. Like that's all you can see.
yeah. So I've been working with that. There's been a
Hmm.
few times in the evening where I'm just like angry,
Throwing tantrums.
and I'm just like, what am I angry about? Like, there's nothing wrong here. And so I kind of like did some parts work where I'm like, okay, what am I angry at? What am I angry about? And this part's like, I want something sweet. You haven't given me anything sweet in days, and I won't stand for it anymore. So I was like, something sweet, huh? So yeah, I had some berries.
Did you? Yeah, you had some berries.
Yeah,
Mm,
and then it
yeah.
got, and then I was like, I feel better.
Yeah. There you go. Parts work, y'all. It's who says it ain't practical?
It's very practical. It's good for weight
Mm-hmm.
loss.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so yeah, relationships, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So are you feeling our relationships going?
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of interesting because when you're kind of not around, I go into a very like almost like a cryogenic stasis of like, well, now I kind of like a lot of the, because I think one of the things that's really enriching for my masculine and for my like energetic center is to just be around your feminine energy, just kind of the chaos, not even bad chaos, but just kind of like the entropy
Mm-hmm.
of it, of like it kind of
Uh-huh.
stirs things up.
Yeah.
It, it introduces like adventure at a certain point.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
um and it's a really fruitful thing because otherwise, when I'm really just kind of in this low masculine phase where there's no feminine energy around, I'm just kind of like, what to do? And it's like I kind of go
Mm-hmm.
through it's like it gets really bullet pointy of like, well, what can I do? And it's that list gets kind of shorter. It's just like, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I need like, especially for me, in my human design too, like I think,
Yep.
you are always putting out energy and I'm always like really receiving energy. And so now that I'm having to do both for myself, it's just kind of like, I guess I'll just go to bed. Or I guess I'll just work.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I hear that.
um so yeah, it's definitely a big reminder too of how I think it's a very useful thing and a really good thing for you to go and be with your people, go have some adventures, go do your thing. um but it reminds me how much of like, yeah, life kind of takes on a kind of bland flavor
Mm-hmm.
when it's just me
Mm-hmm.
kind of cruising around here. And I think a lot of men, who kind of are stuck in that experience that as well. And it gets to kind of a level of despair because you kind of lose the spice of life,
Mm.
which
Mm-hmm.
honestly, like that's, I think, part of the dynamic of masculine feminine energy of like feminine energy adds spice,
Oh yeah.
you
Uh-huh.
know?
Yeah. Yep.
And
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just so you know, I'm gonna come back feminine as fuck. Like, if be careful what your parts want. If they want spicy, I'm not gonna be. It's not like bad kind of spicy, but I'm gonna come back with some energy.
Well,
I
good.
can tell it already. Yeah, like I'm so feminine right now, and I'm just like opening. I'm on this journey and opening wider and wider and wider to, and I already can't wait to come home to you and share that
Hmm.
with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna. We're talking about chaos. You're gonna come back to our apartment and you'll be like, "Fucking bomb went off in here. What's going on?" Not because I'm, you know, uh, not clean, but because we're going through this transition of basically tearing everything
Or,
down. So
uh-huh.
shit's
Yep.
gonna be a little discombobulated.
Yep.
But
That's all right. Ready to roll with it.
yeah, yeah, it's so nice in the forest here. The sun's coming down.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so curious, It's like there's two suns. There's one coming from that way and one coming from that way.
No, there's a big clearing over in this in
Oh,
this direction over
oh,
here.
I see. I see. Gotcha.
Cinematic tricks.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think that's a good enough update. You're
Mm-hmm.
coming home. I'm gonna be doing a little road trip for Mother's Day. If you're watching this after it's Mother's Day, gonna go surprise my mom. She's
Are
so
you gonna
excited.
surprise her?
No, it's not really a big surprise. I
Oh.
I, I talked with her the other day, but
Oh,
she's
okay.
excited.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And I'm also going to take this opportunity to go really into a deep dive masculine phase because I'm not getting a hotel. Fuck all that shit. I'm going to go camping.
Oh shit,
Hmm.
baby.
So I'm going to go into the wilderness
Oh, fuck
and
yeah.
go on
Oh,
a mind
oh.
journey. Yeah.
That's so hot.
Yeah. I might not come
Wow.
out. I might just
Yeah.
stay a wild beast out there.
Yeah. The forest will reclaim you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that should be pretty fun.
Yeah. Oh my.
Hmm.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Man, we are going to come back together as two different individuals ready to unite.
Hmm.
Yeah.
In relationship, every once in a while, you gotta separate so that you can
Mm-hmm.
reunite
Mm-hmm.
and mix that energy back together.
Uh-huh. Oh, I can't wait. I can feel it in my
Yeah,
body already.
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get off of this high and let's talk about some shit in relationships. How about that?
Some shit we had to figure out.
Yeah. Now, this is interesting too, because this is a great example of not only like making sure boundaries are clear, which you can't always 100% perfectly do, but like it's always good to kind of like, test the fences on your boundaries, like a velociraptor would, and be like, is this actually what I want?
Mm-hmm.
Um and then how to like take a situation that on paper is a real nothing burger, but then still like lights up some parts,
Mm-hmm.
because we all know that our parts sometimes take a big bite of that nothing burger and they're like, this disgusting. How dare you?
I asked for something sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, you want to set the stage?
Yes. So, the very first night that I drove to Prescott, and we were leaving a bar, and some people came to. So my friends they went to college in Prescott, so they knew a lot of people there, and we were with people that knew people, and so people walked up off the street, and I was in a conversation with this guy, and it was like a 5-minute conversation. And it was nice enough and stuff, but I was like kind of trapped in the middle between like two other conversations happening. So I didn't necessarily have like control over when I could leave exactly. But then he asked for my number, and I gave it to him, and then like we left. Like Andrew was like, okay, this is gonna be awkward now, so like we kind of left, which is nice.
Oh, thanks, Angie. She was looking out for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, she was looking out for me the whole time. Yeah. um and so I noticed a couple of things. One of them was my people pleasing parts and giving him my number. I did not have any intentions of like seeing him again or reaching out to him or anything like that. But my people pleasing parts have gotten in a habit of just saying yes in those circumstances, because they haven't wanted to hang in the tension of saying no. Um, and like hurting his feelings or making it awkward now or something. It's easier just to say yes and then never respond, and ghost. uh, I'm being really honest here,
Ah, the
people.
times.
Yep. And so that was my intention in giving him my number, but then I realized like, oh shit, like that, like I should probably tell Joseph about that. Like I would love to tell Joseph about that, and that way it's not like something that I am trying to hide or something, but also just be honest, because this is what we do together. I was also like, oh, I bet this would be a really good fucking podcast. Because like this is like real stuff. Um so yeah, so then yesterday or the day before we talked about it on the phone. Um and that was a really good conversation. I felt really close to you, but I'm happy that we're revisiting it now, and especially now that you've had a chance to think on it with you and your parts and stuff, and I'd love to hear kind of what's alive for you now, or like what you want to say about it now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like there's some like backstory with this too. And I think this is kind of the value add here, because um like I said, you getting someone's number, that's a total nothing burger. Like that shouldn't like matter, because I trust you. I know who you are. I know the power of our relationship. It's not a big deal, whatever. But still, like in the past, in my relationship history, like that has always been a trigger for me. Like my person's going to cheat on me, because that's what happened. Like,
Mhm.
you know, in previous relationships, when we're all unconscious and we don't know what we're doing, before we had this great podcast where we could learn about this shit, you kind of like do your best, but usually you kind of screw it up somehow. And like jealousy is just this unconscious thing that we do, where our parts are trying to protect ourselves from getting shit on. Because in the past, when we didn't pay attention to this, someone hurt us. And that's happened to me a couple of times in the past. And so there was these parts of me that took this nothing burger. And like I said, we're like, she gave her number to somebody? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Uh-huh.
you know what happens when that happens, right? You remember. And then your memory is like, let me put together this like real
Let me fill in the
nasty
blanks.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me fill in
Mhm.
the blanks with Jordin now as the person. And so
Mhm.
yeah, initially when you said that, like I think we've all experienced this where, you're kind of on the phone with somebody and they kind of break some news to you and your stomach kind of falls out and you're just like fucking fucking knew it.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because you also have had very similar experiences in the past too, where
Yep.
like you've been yeah, kind of like if you want to share like what's your
Yeah. I
past
mean,
history with stuff like
I've
this too.
I've been cheated on in almost every relationship I've been in. Yeah. Starting with a weird fucked up relationship with my dad. Like I remember like when I was 12 and my parents got like they weren't getting back together or whatever. My counselor kept telling me like it's normal to be upset that your parents aren't getting back together and your dad's dating again and stuff. I was like, "No, like that I'm not actually upset. I don't want my parents to get back together." And I could not figure out why I was upset until I was cheated on in my marriage and I realized, "Oh my God, it's this feeling of betrayal that I felt when I was like 12."
Hmm.
Because my dad like raised me as his spouse. And
Yeah.
so it's like, man, from the very beginning, my attachment parts have felt a sense of like betrayal and like being cheated on. And so that's a pattern that has replayed itself out in almost all of my relationships.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so the conversation we had, which was really fruitful, was really me kind of being like, so more of my like inner leader was like, hey guys, like what's everyone upset about? Like this is no big deal. Like there's nothing to be upset about here. And this is kind of the thing when like when you're not in communion with your parts and they kind of go at each other, like it makes things worse. And that's where you
Yeah.
kind of have to take that step back and like, okay, whoever's upset, like let's hear what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let that energy out. And so it really was kind of listening because at first I couldn't quite understand why I was upset.
Mm-hmm.
And like, to give you some context, I wasn't like, oh fuck, how could you? Like, oh my God, Jordin. Ah. It was just kind of like I think I expressed it like because you're like, yeah, what's kind of going on? And I was like, well, there's a part of me that's annoyed.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um and so kind of like as we're kind of talking through it in here, trying to taking some space and saying like, okay, like what's really going on? Who's upset? All this kind of stuff. And that's where the clarity of like some of these parts were like, well, you remember what happened last time when like, our person kind of went out on their own and then like they just did whatever they want and shat all over us. And then like we're not remorseful about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, ah, yes, I remember now. And that's where you can kind of be like, yeah, I remember that,
Mm-hmm.
but this is also Jordin. Like, this isn't that person. And like, I know Jordin wouldn't do that because like that would also be a really painful thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then like there's also this voice that kind of comes through too of just like, and even if Jordin did do that, like that doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make that you screwed up. That's a choice that she would make. And we
Mm-hmm.
trust her not to make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of came to this thing because it's not as smooth as we're talking about right now. It's sometimes kind of clunky, and it kind of comes up to the this is where like the exploration of your boundaries kind of becomes really clear because then there was a part of me that was like, well, if we're not upset about this, then like what should we be upset about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Which is a super good question, actually.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you can kind of ask the question of like, do I care about this situation? Like, is this crossing any boundary or is this really a nothing burger? And I think sometimes like it can be a really, really fruitful thing when parts of you are just like, there's not a consensus in here whether this is or isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because then there's a real indicator of like, okay, well, there's some work to be done here because um, one of the things that really disconnects couples is when there isn't a clear boundary
Mm-hmm.
between the two of you. And like everything in a relationship, if there's not a clear like boundary within yourself that you really understand, like you can't set a boundary with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a clear thing for me of like, okay, I need to do some parts work here to figure out like what's the real boundary around this. And you know, it's important, I think, really to have that conversation and to do it in a way where you can let the parts of you that are really protesting have their say. Because otherwise you're going to set a boundary that like isn't really in alignment with what's true for you. You know, I could have really just kind of pushed past those parts and been like, yeah, this is no big deal. This is perfectly good boundary. You know what? Shut up, parts.
Mm-hmm.
It's no big deal. And that would be, I think, technically true, because I think that's what, you know, eventually came up with. Um, but like when you do that, it doesn't like clearly define that boundary,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
there's still that like that, you know, the force you had to use to push those parts down so that another part could really like be firm about what it thinks the boundary is. There's going to be
Mm-hmm.
that pressure pushing against that boundary.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. You'll have to exert some of that energy to hold that part back
Mm-hmm.
like forever, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
it's just not addressed. Mm-hmm.
And so like, yeah, now that we're revisiting it a couple of days later, where I've spent some time with these parts, and it doesn't even take like a whole ton of time. Like it is even kind of when I'm just in bed thinking about it, and it's like, all right, parts, like let's talk. Like
Mm-hmm.
let it out. And it really is just, you know, they they just hold, you just have parts that they sometimes even hold on to just a little tiny bit of a past experience that was negative, and that can
Yeah.
be enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't, you know, do a big releasing of energy or anything like this, but it was an experience to witness these parts and to be like, yeah guys, like I get it. And like when you're ready, like come forward into the future with me here, because this is different.
Oh, wow.
And so yeah, there's, it's not like those parts have disappeared, but now like there's there's also kind of a funny instance too that happened with me that we'll get to in a second. But it was more just like, yeah, parts, I hear you, I see you, let's come forward and move forward with this one, and remember this is Jordin, and let's just try and see this with open eyes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with
Mm-hmm.
real clarity. And it is that masculine inner leader that eventually is the one who's like, all right, everybody, let's
Mm-hmm.
come together here and let's make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is that thing where it's like, yeah, there's no boundary crossed. Like there's, you know, you handing. And the other thing too that was very helpful is like we explored like why your parts did what you did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of like, that helps those hurt parts to be like, oh yeah, okay, like, yeah, I see why. I see why.
Mm-hmm.
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 So yeah, I've been rambling for a while. Like, how does that ring true?
Yeah. I just first of all, thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. Because it's been because I think like it becomes real ninja level relationshiping when we can use these sorts of situations to even come closer together,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um where it's kind of like our relationship can just like kind of expand around even this, you know, like more parts of you and more parts of me are join the conversation, and we're still like expanding around that with love, you
Mm-hmm.
know, even like that's not a threat to like what we have. Like what we have is just going to like open wider and expand around that to more love and more connection with more of those parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what it's been feeling like for me listening to you, and so I'm really grateful that um I don't know, that we have this shared language of parts, and that you're sharing it with me.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. And I really see those parts of you too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and this may be this next little bit, maybe what do you want to call the law of attraction type of thing, because yesterday I had the same thing happen to me where someone asked me for my number, and it's just one of those, like, you get caught in that situation and then all those parts are like, what do we do? And it was really a fruitful thing because we had just talked about this, and one of the things we had talked about of like, how would these parts have wanted you to actually handle this situation?
Mhm.
And so it kind of had primed my parts to be like, oh, this person, the context was I was at the gym training with a buddy, and like this older female bodybuilder kind of came up and was like, oh, hey, are you a trainer? You train people? And I was like, yeah, I'm training my buddy here, but not professionally. And then she was like, oh, can I have your number? Like, I might want to train with you. And my parts were like, wait a minute here, we need to do something right here. And so I was like, well, you know, um, yes, if it's like in the context of me training you, to make it like really clear of like, this is if I'm gonna say yes to you, this is the context.
Mhm.
And then she was like, oh yeah, I'm not like hitting on you or anything like that. No, I kind of then my parts were like, okay, well, let's make a joke about this to kind of clear the tension. And I was like, yeah, my 6'2" bodybuilder girlfriend would have something to say about that, And so it was just one of those where I was like, okay, like I think I handled that, but there was still a part of me that was just like, we need to tell Jordan about this because this is the same thing, and you had the honesty and the courtesy to tell me about your situation.
Mhm.
And so, um, yeah, like, is there any other thing you want to discuss about that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's so funny. Because I've actually been doing a lot of work on my own to like within my own parts to really just like set you free like over and over and over again and just like really trust you. And so to set you free, even if, you know, like I don't know if giving your number to somebody is like a boundary even for me. Like I really think it's it's a little bit deeper than that. It's just like kind of keeping track of like where your sexual energy is leaking.
Mm-hmm.
Um and and also
Leaking.
like just to create some space for the parts of you that are just a whole separate human than me too, you know? Like and so I've been just for a long time, for probably several months especially now, where it's just been like consciously like holding more and more space for more and more of your parts, the parts of you that are attracted to other people, the parts of you that can even feel like chemistry with other people, like the parts of you, like the parts of you that wanted to connect with the dancer girl that was on the mastermind. There were
Oh
some parts of
yeah.
me that were
Mm-hmm.
like, noted, but also there were parts of me that were like, yeah, you know what? Like, fucking yeah. Like just set him fucking free, set him free. And like like trusting that like if there's something happening, like you'll tell me,
Mm-hmm.
like if there's something that I need to know, like you will tell me. And so I think it's a really good practice just to like tell each other. Even if
Yeah.
it's not a big deal, not even just to keep tabs on each other or anything like that, or like clear our conscience or something, but just
Right.
like to connect about it, to connect, especially as we become digital nomads, to be able to just like feel safe to like that even this stuff doesn't have to be hidden. And like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
maybe some of it is going to make the other person feel some things, but like, what if that's also just an invitation to become more intimate and to
Mm-hmm.
create an even bigger relationship that can hold even more of our parts.
Yeah, this is, if you're gonna write something down, folks, this is the thing to write down, that like, yeah, the more you can disclose, like, and be open and honest about like the little things that shouldn't be anything, but you're consistently doing that, like, then that builds trust. It's the premise that Brene Brown talks about with the marble jar. You know, the more that you can throw a little marble into the jar every once in a while, like the more full it is, and that represents that trust. And then it gives you the opportunity to like figure out, okay, is there something that we need to like discuss here? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it's one of those things too that is a real opportunity for you to be in tune with your parts, because one of the patterns that I really had to work hard to break, especially in relationship, was that like, you know, my relationship spidey sense, something would happen and my relationship spidey sense would be like, I don't think this is quite what we should be doing. And then another part of me would be like, yeah, but I think we can hide this.
Yep.
And so like recognizing that in yourself and working with that part of like, part we might be able to hide this, but like that's not going to make this good. Like that's not going to be a good thing. Like you might get away with it for a while, but when it comes out, like that's going to be some real shit. So it's better to just be honest. And like the part of me that would really want to hide things would be like, no, it's better to
Yeah.
hide it. I don't want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I know. I definitely had that part of me that was like, okay, this happened. Like I've learned what I've needed to learn about my people pleasing parts. Like, yeah, that like, you know, I'm clear about how I would handle this differently next time. And I don't need to tell Joseph, like, you know, I've learned what I learned. I don't need to like rile up his parts. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, this like I'm robbing myself of half of this opportunity here. Like this gets to actually be a connecting moment.
Yeah. So like, oh, there's a dog.
Yeah, there's 3 dogs here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I need to have some like natural sounds going out here to really sell
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, some Tweety birds.
Yeah, it's really shiny in here too now that
Yeah.
the sun's gone down. I've got a very blazing fire going in front of
Do
me.
you? Well, the lighting's great.
Yeah. Anyways, like this is not some call to you, to everyone in a relationship, to just be like constantly what's that term where you're always like telling too much?
Oversharing.
Oversharing, yeah. But it's a call when your spidey sense, which everyone has that true little voice, when that spidey sense is like, yeah, you probably should say something, to listen to that voice, and as well as listening to all the parts that are going to object.
Yeah.
And yeah, because it is a choice. Like there's so many things in a relationship where like you are at a crossroads and you get to choose, and like choose wisely.
Well, and that's just been the foundation of our entire relationship, is honesty. Like we started with honesty that both of us were like, yeah, after I say this, like it's for sure over.
Oh yeah.
You know, like that's where we started. And we just kept choosing to love each other. And so like I just think for us especially, like honesty is so fruitful for us. Because like we have the tools to work through it, you know, to work through what comes up and to get stronger because of it. Even the things that are hard to admit.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that like, you know, if you diffuse a bomb when it's tiny, it's just going to go pop and then it's done with. Versus, you know, sometimes we've all been there in the past where we've had a real big stinky bomb that's like we're kind of just like, yeah, this thing.
I don't smell anything.
I don't smell anything. You know, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And then you drop that sucker and it explodes, and that's when real damage happens.
Yeah.
You know? And that can be really hard to repair. So yeah, that's about it for what's going on in the life of Joseph and Jordin here on the Heart is a Muscle podcast. Anything else, Jordin? You got any other things you want to disclose?
Truly, no.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I am either.
Yeah. I was gonna say I am proud of my parts, because I didn't go full people pleaser. Like there was a time he was like, "Oh, do you like paddleboarding?" And I was like, "Not really."
Yeah.
I was like,
Good
I'll hang
job,
in that
parts.
shit. Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
was like, Joseph would
Good
be
job.
proud of me of that one.
Yeah.
Stayed true. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we were energetically connected because I was like,
Uh-huh.
man, I just feel so proud of Jordin for some reason right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm ashamed and proud, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm not
I
that
know.
energetically connected, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so it's been just an awesome fruitful time in general for me. I can't wait to come back and like share it all with you.
Mm-hmm.
And like it makes me feel really seen and like I matter to even hear that you notice when my presence is missing, is absent.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a little aside, but I had to like really reset my whole like daily dynamics. It's just like the half of the equation's gone already. You
Yeah.
know, you notice it really
Yeah.
quickly. And,
Uh-huh.
just to give you some kudos, like there's so many things that you do to support me that when you're gone,
Mm.
I'm like, fuck, now I got to do that.
Oh, yeah, that helps me feel seen too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, everybody, it's the same message we have everywhere. Be truthful, be honest, do your
Mm-hmm.
parts work, be grateful
Yep.
for what your folks do to each other,
Yep. Be
and get
good to yourself.
deep and dirty in that masculine, feminine energy.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know, baby. I hope you're ready for like a huge fucking explosion when we reunite.
Oh, trust me.
Yeah.
Don't challenge me with an explosion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But I
anyways,
like, yeah, anyway. Mm-hmm.
now what were you gonna say? I'm
Mm-hmm.
interested to hear.
I was gonna say I really liked that you set me off so well too. I liked that was important to you. My send off experience.
Did I do something special? I can't even remember now. It's
I
been
mean,
so long.
we had a very good time together.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
let's get back to the point we made in the beginning, guys. You're sending your girl off to go off on an adventure. Give her a reason to come back.
Yeah. And like I haven't forgotten.
Oh yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
let's end on that juicy note.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
juicy. Anyways, everybody, we love you. We're so excited to share ourselves with you and be good to each other out there.
Mwah.
Mwah. Bye, Jordin.
Bye, BB Boo Boo.
And bye, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for enjoying this episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast. We really enjoy creating this content for you, and we want to share some more resources so you can get even more content. So take it away, Jordin.
That's right. If you want to follow either one of us on socials, if you want to work with either one of us, if you want access to our YouTube channel, if you want to buy our book, links to all that stuff is on our Patreon. So that is patreon.com/theheartisamuscle. Now you don't have to join Patreon to get access to those links.
But you probably should. The more that you support us and support this channel, the more that we can create this awesome content to help support you, because that's really why we do this. We want to make your guys' lives better, and your support really matters.
Yeah. And what you'll get when you join Patreon is a shout out in our next episode. And you will also get access to listener requests where you will get to request what you want us to talk about in future episodes.
So from the Heart is a Muscle podcast to you guys, thank you so much for all the support, all the feedback. We really, really enjoy it. And we'll talk to you all later.
Truly love you guys so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.